Alright, hello. As you can see here, we're going to start a project working on this old, well, not really all that old, pretty modern in reality, project for a Klunker. Welcome back to all you viewers from YouTube. We have some work to do. This thing needs to be cleaned up, dismantled, and then put back together with a couple better, more modern parts as we're moving forward. This relaxed cruiser type thing is going to become more of an off-road machine, so follow along with me as we do some cleaning and change out some parts. We're going to get rid of a few things here. Got to loosen up and spray down some stuff so it makes it easier also. So just going to use some JB here. Hopefully that helps out. Stuff's pretty dry, so hopefully it breaks apart pretty easy, but who knows with something that's been sitting outside for a little while. As we're building here, I'm going to try to keep a couple of the stock parts, but for sure these handlebars have got to go, and in order to do so, I might have to get rid of some nastiness. So these parts great for a cruiser, but not so much for a Klunker. So hopefully everything comes apart pretty easily. We'll see what happens. Nastiness for sure. Real gunky and rusty. Be happy to see that gone. I can stop dancing around the handlebars now. Sounds a little dry. The seat post feels almost frozen. So, you know, sometimes these come after sitting outside for a little while. A little bit of spray does a lot of good, but in reality, when you have those real frozen ones, you're going to want to stick the seat post itself into a vise and then use the frame for your leverage, which, you know, I'm kind of marring up this post area, but in reality that's the spot where it gets clamped anyways. Measured this just a little bit ago, and this is a 28 point something millimeter seat post, and we're going to clean this out and grease it up along with removing that crank, nasty steel crank. Yeah, 28.8 the seat post says, as you can't really see it, but hopefully taking this out, cleaning will help out. Yeah, gunky, yuck. So I gotta get a rag to lay this onto that's nasty already, but so this process really, building this one up, shouldn't be all that hard to do for just about anyone. This bike frame actually was free, found on the side of the road. Just needs some cleaning and should be kind of decent. Just for a Klunker, if you break it, you don't really care on a Klunker. Some of the parts would be nice to not have ruined after you put some nicer stuff on here, but this was an old beach cruiser type bike, and not affiliated with me here, but Honest Tea is a alcoholic drink that I think you would win maybe one of these at the local liquor store or whatnot. So kind of interesting, kind of awkward also. I want a beach cruiser, but I don't ride beach cruisers. Maybe around the lake or something would be fun, but I'm going to continue onward here. I got to get rid of this chain guard. Comes out of the way. And I'm just going to put these bolts back into the same hole. I'm actually going to try to keep that chain guard, because it kind of is interesting to see. You don't really see many bikes with chain guards on them. And this will help me able to clean behind it too. And of course now I lost the bolt after I dropped it. There she is. I kind of want to, as I'm building a bike, every time you see the back of my head, I want to do a little zoom in like Puddin's Fab Shop does on the bald spot, but I don't have one, so kind of a bummer, so to speak, there. And also pretty dry is this bottom bracket. Now this is not a sealed unit, but I might actually just put arms onto this bottom bracket, but I'm not sure just yet. And it's got a kickstand also. I'm half tempted to leave that, but maybe put an aluminum one on instead of a junky steel one. So who knows? I am just gonna take this. Oh, we'll see. Kickstand down so I can clean a little bit better behind that. Maybe find an aluminum one. For the donor parts, I have a pretty decent 88 Peugeot mountain bike that's quite old, but the frame is so beat up and pretty gross that I'd like to, part that thing out and use some of the parts on this beautiful machine that we're building here. And we're slowly going to pick away at. Oh no. Gotta get the digging through tools trying to find something that I can use to remove this bottom bracket cup. Yeah, it's not looking promising. Might have to pry behind it here. This video is going to get pretty long if I don't speed this stuff up. Oh yeah, there we go. Good old pocket knife for the win. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for posting something like that on YouTube or not, but here we are, moving along. So I got a cool little setup. I bought this Amazon special toolkit. I'm looking for some nicer stuff, but it'll come when it comes. Not really worried about removing these cranks, the pedals just yet, but I'm going to slowly pick away at getting stuff removed. And when you're using one of these little crank arm devices, you do want kind of nice clean threads, but oh gosh. Yeah. Should be able to just, oh gosh, I don't want to ruin the threads. Get past the little bit of dirt that's in there. No, not looking good. I gotta get some grease. So I did actually get this crank arm remover tool put in, and when you've got dirt and gunk and stuff threaded in there, you gotta make sure you get it threaded in there nicely, as if you strip those threads, removing your crank arm is really tough to do. So let's thread that in and see if we can't get that arm to pop off. If you're one of those individuals looking at my stand, you're right, that is a dated repair stand. It's actually an old Minura, is that how you say it? Another one of those things that came to me and was fairly cheap, free, but works all the same, just as good as some of those new park stands that people buy, spending ridiculous amounts of money on. So kind of awesome to be able to get one that worked for free. Now that arm is removed now here. I'm unthreading my crank arm removal tool, and we're going to move to that actual front side there too. So those cups actually came out quite nicely. I thought they were threaded, but they were not, which is kind of nice. And sometimes, we're getting lucky. Some of this stuff is coming apart pretty easy. But I did also squirt some penetrating oil onto the threads as you were off screen. So hopefully this stuff threads together easily. Now the crank that I plan to use, I'm not certain if I should use this bottom bracket or the bottom bracket from the other bike, the donor Peugeot. But either way, we'll get this thing rolling, and eventually I want to put speeds on it, but I'm not certain when that'll be. I'll put a little 6-speed or 8-speed group set on it somewhere in there. Oh. And this is my first time ever making a YouTube video with me in it, so bear with me as I just kind of work along and talk a little, maybe too much, but that's okay. Removing that crank arm. This stuff is not bad. It's actually pretty in decent shape, but so heavy and kind of chintzy. Well, hopefully, the frame holds up. There are a couple spots where the welds look questionable at best, but we're just going to keep working with it and hope for the best as I add in some other parts. I'm actually going to remove the drive side bearing cup, and doing so hopefully plan to get to the bearings and clean those up. If I can work this crescent wrench right, and it's not big enough, so I'll have to grab my other crescent wrench at some point, and we're going to move on to the head tube bearings, the headset bearings, and see if we can't get those to break loose. Yeah, there we go. These are not sealed or anything either on these older bikes. What we're going to find is this bike was probably put together in a real hurry at a liquor store and not greased well, or at all. We'll see. And it's not looking promising. Threads. Removing parts on bikes, sometimes you wonder. And yeah, they're dry. So whoever put that together did not do their due diligence. So our head tube bearings are out and removed. I got my different crescent wrench here. I of course need to buy a better wrench set for this, but crescent wrenches work in the time being, as long as you get them on there nice and tight to that bearing cup. I going the wrong way? I might be. I very well could be. So here's our donor. It's got some decent parts, some handlebars that'll look nice, and long brake levers. This is would be a working bike, but it's pretty rusty in a bunch of spots. So I think I'm gonna let this one go. The rear derailleur, the mech is broken, and so I think it's just kind of a parts bike. That'll be a nice donor for this Klunker project. It is Ishiwata 4130 steel tubes, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try to clean up the frame and piece it back together eventually, but I was also thinking about putting this fork on there so I have some front brakes in the time being, rather than just some back brakes on that pedal backwards wheel that I was going to put on, but who knows what's going to happen here as we're moving forward. Alright, here's a little sneak peek of what I've accomplished. My GoPro died, so I'm just kind of moving forward. I didn't really get anything cleaned up, but I'm trying to like test fit parts. And you're seeing this is looking a little bit longer. I think the rake on the fork is out a little bit further, but hopefully that makes it kind of handle just a little bit better. You don't want it to be too kind of pinchy. The chain's too long to be using that crank, so I might have to take a link or two out. But just kind of playing around with parts. My little housing mount for the stuff is not going to work for the chain guard. So playing around with it, messing around, little sneak peek there as we're moving forward.